Thank you, Sifu.
Thank you.
If I, what I remember, which is, a lot to do with all of this training. I remember seeing, and I still post it, a simple diagram about Tai Chi progression. And it started off with the physical strengthening, the stretching. It moved from there to the breathing and a full cycle of, being able to progress to, the leaf, going to the different E and energy and, and then moving on into the push hands, into the sparring, into the, and eventually it got back to the top of the circle where you started. And then it just said, okay, repeat again.
And at another level of ability. Yeah.
What I noticed though, from the training with you and a lot of great people, is that it's not single dimensional. It's not flat. It's more of a spiral where each time you go around the circle, the more you learn, and it changed it into something, three-dimensional. And then, like you said too, I noticed that with my training, a fourth dimension has been added really, and that is, we start out training with a core group of people. Some of us accelerate. I know some of the guys that I started with, and I've watched them grow and learn more and more. And, I took a new job a couple of years ago. It sort of slowed me down a little bit, but that interest is still there, and the desire to learn is still there. And the other big factor that I noticed with studying with Sifu Clear is that, your training is always improving. The different ways I see you demonstrate things, the different way, I hear you teach things, and all of the different levels that are available. Like you said, frequently, I'm still in the elementary, stages and moving on to the graduate, postgraduate stages, as things spiral higher and higher. It's just, it adds so much more to the Tai Chi and the Qigong, and all that there is out there to learn with it. So I thank you very much for constantly being a student and a teacher.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Bill, it's your first call. You care to weigh in on this?
I'm sorry?
It's your first call with us here. Do you care to weigh in on this point? What has you pursuing Tai Chi to those levels?
There are many parts of it, but one of the things is I've been teaching since 2002, and so if I'm teaching a subject, I really should know the whole thing. And so that was a thing. I've been teaching this, and I recognize my limitations, but if I have the opportunity to really understand the whole system, I really should. And I may be able to find students that are interested or not, but I still want to know it for myself.
Yep.
Yeah, great.
Cool. Yeah. Yep. Thanks.
Ty, did you weigh in on this?
He did not yet.
I don't think so.
No, I had not weighed in on this, and I always hate going after Harry. He usually sums it up right from the very beginning. But what I've found with my own students, that they come in two groups, and I have the group that seems to be satisfied with being able just to do the physical, learn the forms. They feel that that's all there is to it. And I try to introduce them to additional things. And I think what I really got out of today was trying to make sure that I meet them exactly where they're at, and then try to gradually give them more, because sometimes I think they just like almost surrender when I tell them how much is available going forward, because I'm very much like Matt, where it's like, wow, this goes on forever. Great. I want that. But then I have one student in particular that comes to mind that she wants to be doing Wuji now and doesn't want to go ahead and do the work to get there. And so she's always trying to find ways to shortcut it. And I'm like, okay, why can't I find someone who wants to just stay on pace as opposed to, I don't need that much. And others that like, hey, I'm going to skip all that. I'm just going to jump straight to Wuji. So
you're going to miss all that heavenly glory if they skip to that.
yes. So, I'm constantly trying to find out where students are, and I think they're kind of intimidated when I tell them, hey, I'll give you a free private lesson. And they think, okay. But really it's for me, so I can find out exactly who they are, what they want, and where they're at, which sometimes I don't get when I have a group setting, because they're intimidated to say exactly what's on their mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then also by doing that private lesson, you're letting them see, you're trying to meet them where they're at, but also then you're giving them an idea of the kind of things they could be getting into. And ideally that's, they want that, or why are they there, kind of a thing.
Exactly.
And then for your own journey, Tai, I know you did the ninjutsu up to the 5th degree black belt level, and we're continuing with that. And then at some point you had shared with me that Hatsumi told you that Tai Chi was the next stage of learning and development for you.
Yes. And at the time I didn't understand it, because I'd watched some of the other practitioners and I'm like, what's the magic sauce that they have that I don't have? Because I knew everything technically perfectly, but I was stiff and I used no chi, I used no jin. I just was very mechanical. I was doing basically everything on the Li and E level. And then I realized, okay, I add all of these things to ninjutsu, and then I can have it or start to approximate what Hatsumi has.
Yeah.
But that he didn't teach.
Sure. Well, and if you learn, like a lot of times people from the generation before ours that are older teachers, I know teachers in their 80s and up, and I got to think Hatsumi's up there like that in age.
Yes.
The way they learned was very much like Carly learned from me, where since she was a baby, I just would do things and she was able to glean it and pick it up. There wasn't a verbalization. And what happens with somebody who learned in that generation a lot of times, and the other master you study with for Tai Chi, he is one of these guys.
Yes.
And he has the information. A lot of times people think they're holding out on you, but he never got taught a teaching method. It was, they did it, it was monkey see, monkey do, or feel it, and then you duplicate that feeling, and they got raised in the art where that's what was going on. And the problem is it is difficult for an adult who has not learned like that to learn like that, period. And worse yet, in today's society, especially when so much of it is done over the internet like this, if you're not explaining things and giving people some understandings of what's going on, that they can then mentally put that construct and then try to duplicate with that understanding, then if that isn't all going on, they can't relate. Yeah. And so the teacher has the trouble teaching under that circumstance. It's like, do what I'm doing. Well, I don't know what you're doing. I can't feel what you're doing. So how am I supposed to do that? And then so there's that. And then from the student side, they're trying to pick up and mimic all this stuff. And it becomes, a lot of times people will try to mimic the physical part, when a lot of times the teacher's not trying to convey something that's physical at that point. It's internal. It's got to do with the energy and or the mind and or body and mind and breathing and spirit states. And they're trying to help lead you to this place. And it requires a really high level of sensitivity. And you either acquired that because you had the teacher when you were young, like Carly baby, on up doing that, or you have to really, really train for it as an adult. And so Sung being one of the more important skills like that, because you're working on learning that sensitivity, both so that you can build the skill of being able to perceive that way. And also now, not only with the explanation, but that you can actually learn in multiple ways, which is then going to really make a big difference in your progress and your understanding and your ability to enhance that material and to work with it and to apply it in a lot of different ways, so that now you're looking at all kinds of different health applications and life applications along with self-defense.
Well, I work with off and on with about 5 guys that are all in their upper 80s. And, they get really jazzed and very happy with me because of what I've gotten from you, which is ting. So that now when they do things, I can feel exactly what they're doing. And I can see this big grin come over their face when they do something that other people in class don't know what they're doing, but I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. I know what you did because of the training in ting.
You do it. And they want the other students to acquire that, but they don't have a teaching method for it because they weren't taught. They came up doing it.
Exactly.
So yeah, cool, man.
So,
Thanks.
what I'm so that tidbit about Hatsumi's training method and all that aside, what I'm really kind of hearing is consistently is that everybody in this group is really jazzed about the possibilities for like that lifelong training thing. But I think what really just kind of got cleared for me listening to everybody talk about this, that I've struggled being able to put my finger on why is this exciting for some people and why is it daunting for others. And what I really think the difference is that the people who it's exciting for really see very clearly all the concrete benefits that you get along the way. And it's really exciting because what happens is you get this benefit and it's like, wow, that's awesome. And then you get another one, it's like, this is life-changing. And you get another one and it's like, I feel like a new person. You mean I get to keep feeling better and better and better like this my whole life, the rest of like forever? It just gets better. And so when you're coming at it from that perspective, yeah, it is really exciting that like this art doesn't end. But if you think of it as the only benefit that's here for me to be had is at the very high level, and that's my goal, and if I don't get there, I'm not going to be happy, then it's extremely daunting because it's like, well, yeah, I've got 60 years of, work ahead of me before I may or may not attain my goal. And so I think the key really is, what Sifu Clear said in the very beginning is just make sure you're meeting people where they're at and get them excited about those benefits that they could be attaining right now at the level that they kind of have in their grasp. And the more of that they get, the more excited people we're going to have, studying for the rest of their life. But they really have to see those benefits kind of first.
Part of what goes, go ahead.
That's interesting that you say, people possibly saying, until I reach that goal. What concrete goal is there in Tai Chi? Unless your goal is, hey, I want that 108 movement form. And to know that, other than that, what real goal is there? Would you pick a goal of, I want root of a certain depth, or I want a type of healing skill? And it's such a nebulous thing.
But what happens is because they don't understand the depth and the complexity and the amount, they start to think that, well, okay, so if you're really sharing this with me, I could pick it up really fast, and so I just want that now. And even though they haven't quantified that, they kind of lump it together because they don't understand. Like that. Now, every once in a while, you will get a skill, whatever it is, iron body, for instance, or marrow washing type skill, or touching somebody where they're going to go flying across the room, whatever it is. And then they go, well, I want that, and they want to jump into that. And then you go, well, that requires, and you start listing off the things. And then they go, well, yeah, I don't know about all that, but I want to be able to do that. And they, like you said, they think it's almost like the 5-minute trick that if you really explain it to them, they could do that. And that it wasn't, they missed the heart. He's been present with me a number of times where we're out somebody. I've been called naturally fast. Anybody who saw me when I was a teenager would not have said I was naturally fast. They would have said I was naturally lanky. What do you call it when they start getting some of their height and their
lanky.
Yeah. Anyways, and I've had people where they were like, well, okay, so it's nice that you've got that, and then but where they're coming from a place where they're thinking, okay, anybody else would be able to do that in a couple of years. The funny one is I've had people go, okay, but you're a young guy, so, and I'm going, you know, how old do you think I am? Well, you're like in your 30s, right? No, but what I'm doing is helping me to continue to be able to move and feel and reasonably look. Although some days not as good as others, like I'm young like that. But no, that's, you know, it's because of the training. And then you kind of get this, you know, it's overwhelming. And so I try not to even say that stuff as much, just because I know that it tends to blow people out of their socks. That it's too much. And so when you're doing the stuff like you talked about there, it's and like what you just said, it is that I try to meet them where they're at and do those things, but always with a little bit of a moving that bar just a little bit. And our training method really is, and I know you guys have all seen this from me, I take I treat it as a step method. If I'm on the bottom, if you're on the ground floor, I go up one step and I try to get you to come up on that step with me. And when you really are up on that step, then I go up one more step and I try to work until you really come up on that step with me. And I make sure you're really on that step, and I keep doing that. Because I know if I go 5 steps up, I'm not going to be able to reach you very well, and you're not going to be able to jump from the ground floor to the 5th step. And by doing that, for those of you that are seniors sometimes, and I know a couple people have said it's a little frustrating because it's like, I can't tell what you've really got. And it's like, well, but your goal here is for me to get you to this level. And when you do that, I'll walk you up another level and then another level and another level. And keep doing that, because my goal is to get you to the top of the steps. But if I try to just, you know, there's no magic way to get you from ground floor to the top of the steps. And, you know, like that, it really does have to be, let's walk up these steps.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
For those of you who are interested in internal power and want a reliable place to start, and for anyone who wants to experience internal power for themselves, go to internalpowerguide.com. I built a crash course in hands-on internal power. The Practical Guide to Internal Power is a work at your own pace online program. It is the course I use to get students from 0 to 60 as quickly as possible, and it is totally free. So sign up at internalpowerguide.com now and get started right away. That's internalpowerguide.com.
So I would like to sort of add to what Matt said, and that is the people, you talked about people being able to experience the benefits all along the way. And I would bring another nuance to that, and I would say the people that continue are better able to enjoy the journey.
Sure.
Like enjoy step 1 and enjoy step 2 and enjoy step 3, while as long as they're there, rather than feeling that's a burden and they only want to be at the top of the staircase.
Yes.
Yes.
And I will say that part of that, like for the internal push hands and any kind of push hands, that's why I treat it as play. If I get somebody and I can tell they're too competitively oriented, and I know most of you have seen me do this, I'll be like, shove me. Woohoo! Okay, send me across the room. Woohoo! Are you happy yet? Well, no, you're giving that to me. Okay, I'll get in there. Grr, go ahead and move me. Okay, and we'll do that. Are you happy yet? You know, are you having fun yet? And the goal is, if you're not having fun, this should be fun. It's play. And in that play, you're learning things, you're doing things, but it really does need to be play. And if it's not play, it's not at some point fairly quickly, I think, unless you're super ultra competitive. I just got to compete for everything. And even if it's thumb, even if it's thumb wrestling or whatever, it's like I got to make a competition out of it. Okay, that's your idea of fun. So we'll play all kinds of different ways to get it so that that's fun for you. But for a lot of people, if it's hyper competitive like that, they start to lose. The fun goes out the window pretty quick. And it does for me. If it's all competitive, I get to some point where I'm going, you can keep it. I'm not doing this to compete with anybody. And if I'm working on a skill that I'm just trying to make better, okay, I'm in a little bit of a competition with myself today as opposed to myself yesterday and the day before that. But I'm much more interested in, am I enjoying this? Am I feeling good about this right now? Am I getting nice feeling stuff and the benefits of that? Am I getting the good disciplined work of that and then the benefits of that nice disciplined work? But is there an enjoyment, excuse me, a mental stimulation and a physical enjoyment and those kinds of things out of that? And that doesn't mean I won't have to work for a minute in order to develop a skill in order to have those things. But ultimately, it's going to come back to those things, and it has to keep being that. Otherwise, it becomes a lot of very hard work and daunting and hard. And how am I supposed to keep this up? And it's not fun. So why wouldn't I do something else? You know, and just because it's fun doesn't mean it's not work. There's work there. When somebody's playing a video game, kids playing a video game, and they play first time, and then immediately, you know, their car starts out of the gate, or their guy goes up to fight, and, you know, they lost right away, and they keep doing it, and keep doing it, keep doing it, and then they can get through a whole level, and then they go to the next level, and again, they start off in the second level, you know, they lose again, and yet they're doing it. It is work. It is very fun. And so it's, the art really has a great capacity towards that end. And so it's, what can I do, and what can we do as teachers and as practitioners, even for ourselves, that helps keep it like that, to keep it mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually stimulating, because it really has great capacity for that. And so why wouldn't you make use of that and then get all the benefits because you were doing it? You get the idea where I'm coming from.
Yeah, no, it's a brilliant. I mean, it's very true, Philly. If you don't enjoy the journey, even if you are getting benefits along the way, it's just, it becomes a struggle no matter what. And you really, you do have to actually enjoy the process of, you know, what we're doing, and enjoy that, enjoy the ride, and not be so much focused on the destination. If anyone out there has not read Candide by Voltaire, I highly recommend it. The book is all about that, and it's really funny.
What's the name of the book?
Candide, C-A-N-D-I-D.
Candid.
Yeah, it's spelled like Candid, but it's pronounced Candide. It's French.
Oh, okay.
But they don't say French freeze.
No,
Never mind.
Actually, they don't eat French fries in France. I discovered the only place that I found French fries was on a sandwich called the American sandwich. On that sandwich, it wasn't separate.
That's just wrong. But anyways, okay. A word from our sponsor. Again, to know more about these things, the essential keys to internal power for the extreme basics there. The core basics that are going to be helpful, and that we found that those basics are helping people with COVID and all that, to get through it. And that's at internalpowerkeys.com. And then the roadmap to Tai Chi mastery that we're talking about, and that's talking about the stages and the levels, and a good bit about what's sort of involved in those stages. It is an overview, but a fairly extensive overview. And that's at TaiChiRoadmap.com. And so I've got here why Clear Tai Chi is packed at the top end of the art. My independent research and library are extensive. I had the take that Phil had on it, which is I want to know where this goes all the way to the end of the art as best I can, because I want to know, I don't want to get to the end of it and get some kind of a nasty surprise. You know, there are people out there that, okay, so Tai Chi is of the devil, and I didn't want to get to the end and find out, yes, it is. You know, oh, yeah. And so I wanted to make sure that was okay. It is. It's no devil there or anything like that, unless the devil is you, and that's a different ballgame. In other words, what's in your mind? What's in your spirit? Where are you coming from? And ideally, if it's bad places like that, the Tai Chi is going to help you to change that. But anyways, and as a result of my extensive research in the library and the study, I have a massive amount of very high-level material information. And I've had approximately 50 teachers. And when I say a teacher, I don't mean a weekend workshop. I mean people I've spent real time with. The senior ones of those, the top half dozen, I've spent more than 10 years with each. Another 10 to 20, I've spent approximately 5 years with each, and then I've got a whole bunch of teachers that I've had somewhere between 6 months and a couple years with each, and then the library and the research and understanding and looking at things that are different from different teachers, and then looking at what the common things are, and then looking at them all doing certain practices like your basic beginner Wu Chi and going, what is similar here? What's different here? What is the higher level version? What does that look like? Why is that? How is that? What are they doing that's really delivering these results differently or better? And all of that. So that's part of the reason why you see certain things in our program done certain ways. And you know, and those of you that are asking the questions live know this. I'll go, well, there's this, and this, and this, and this. And I'm doing this one because, and I can actually do the other methods. I don't do them as well because I don't do them very often. I do the ones that I like the best because I found them to either really impart better benefits, more benefits, or somehow they're easier, more functionally, you're able to do it better and more easily for whatever reason. Like the marrow washing that we use, it's the simplest method I know, and it's the hardest one to actually hurt yourself with. And every marrow washing method, you can hurt yourself if you do certain things wrong. With the one we've got, you have to relax when you do it. If you don't relax, it can hurt you. But that's the only way. Some of the other ones, if you just look the wrong way, you've got a problem. Right now too, and it's, anyways, you get the idea. All right, that's why quite often my serious students are mistaken for master level practitioners by other teachers, and that happens a lot. If they don't know them and they're just meeting them and they're on the floor and they're doing stuff and they're interacting, and it is a place where they're not the master on the floor, they know there's other people there. It's very common for people to go, okay, so like you're really a senior teacher master level, and they're like, no, I'm a teacher, but I've got a long way to go. And they're like, man, I've felt other masters, or, you know, it's this.
Ty and I were both called masters by someone here just a few months ago in California, where they were like, well, you're a master and you're a master. Just really casually, like offhanded like that. Like, obviously you're masters.
And I know it's happened with Harry and Greg quite a bit too, and some of the other ones. So, yeah. And I'm okay with this, as long as the serious students like you guys here, and ideally people that are your serious students and the people who are really getting into it, as long as they continue to grow and become the high-level practitioners that they are in an excellent position to become. In time, everyone who wants the art will eventually come to understand the difference between real mid-level and real high-level practitioners. And I really want to avoid in our system as much as I can having a bunch of people get to the mid-level who are then calling themselves masters and thought of as masters, which is great until somebody who really has mastery comes along. And the reason that I've got such an aversion to that isn't because of an ego thing or I care that somebody's calling you a master or not calling you a master, as much as I really want people to get the benefits of the art that I have got. And it's a personal thing for me. And if I've got a bunch of people who are at mid-level that everybody think is high-level, well, there's a whole large, great body of material there that people are never going to get. They're never going to get access to it. They're not going to see it. They're not going to get to do it. They're not going to experience it. And there's a lot of benefits, both in the health side, in the mental, personal side, and in the self-defense side, which is kind of less, but it's still a thing, that people will never see and get if we don't work towards that end. And there's a lot of fun and interesting things at the high end as well. So it's all of that. So my goal is to create a large number of real master level practitioners to carry the art to the next generation, who ideally will then help carry the art to, you know, from there forward. And to really make a change in the way that Tai Chi, a revolution, if you will, in Tai Chi and Tai Chi instruction. And I owe a debt, or I feel like I owe a debt, to my teachers, and because I've had a lot of them, even though I've been with certain ones, like Uncle Bill I've been with for 25 years. Tyrone I was with for 15 years. Anyway, and then Dr. Wu by him that way. And I take that responsibility to those teachers very, very seriously. And Uncle, when he was younger, had a very much more of him and his brothers, a hide the art. But the older that he's got, at least with Uncle, he's been like, get it out there, teach it. Like that he really does get the idea that this can really help people and that there's no reason to hide it. You know, but that the people who get it should be the people who really do the work. And so the question that you would always want to ask yourself is, are you committed to that long-term study and practice? And if you're not, is there a reason that you can come to that really is why you're not? or if you think you are, can you start to put quantitative, qualitative, quality and quantity reasons to that and understandings to that? And if there's something in your practice that's not enjoyable enough and stimulating enough in those ways, what can I do to help you to do that? And what can you do that will help you to do that? And then obviously conveying that to students. And so if there's anything any of you want to weigh in on that, then cool. If not, we'll try to finish up our meeting today. All quiet. Okay.
It looks like they're itching to jump in.
Hopefully that's good. So a word from our sponsor. Remember, essential keys to internal power. That's keys to internalpower.com. Keys to internalpower.com.
Internal power keys.
Internalpowerkeys.com. Thank you. And then the roadmap to Tai Chi mastery, which is a Tai Chi road or Tai Chi roadmap.com. Tai Chi roadmap.com.
Yep.
One other little note here. Me as an old master. I'm 56 years old. I've had diabetes type 1, which runs in the family for over 20 years now. Even though I'm 56, I tend to feel like I'm 20. I'm 192 to 195 pounds right now. I'm more muscular overall from head to toe than I've been, more physically stronger than I've been any time in my life prior to now. And that's because of the training that I'm doing, and all of that. At the same time, at some point, I suspect I will hit old age, and then all you guys will be able to just push me over. And that could be sooner, it could be later, it could be a while, it might not ever happen. It may be that you don't push me over out of some kind of deep respect. For me, I'm like, I don't care. If you push me over and we're having fun, great. Knock me into the wall, let me bounce off, and let's keep on playing. It's fun. If you can shove an old master, does it mean, and I've had teachers that I could absolutely have done something to them if that's how I was minded. Does that mean that I couldn't learn more from them? And the answer is they had lots and lots and lots to still teach me, and that I could still learn from them and do and did and all of that. If it was about who can win, then why aren't the people who are in the MMA rings and the boxing rings all the old coaches? Why is it young 20-something-year-olds who are in there doing the fighting? And it's because the old guy's not going to be able to get in there. He might have the skill set to do that, but he's just not going to stand up to some hot, full of piss and vinegar, I'll be blunt here, 20-year-old who's been training and is in peak fitness and peak ready to go. It's just not going to be a good idea. Even if they win, when you get to a certain age, you can lose. Master Ma he won the push hands thing there when he was against the Japanese that he was pushing with, the group that came to study from him, when he was 95, like a month or two before I studied with him, but he had to go to the hospital. And so if it's, well, I can push him, I win, and I must know more, can they teach you something? It really is more about that. And if it's about, can you beat them? If your attitude is that, come tell me that your goal is just to beat me. I'll let you push me now. We're done. Go somewhere else. I don't need the ego trip from that. I don't want to be that person, and I don't want to interact with that person unless they're working on not being that person. But if that's their only goal, then hey, have at it and go somewhere else. I don't want to be your teacher, to be blunt. And that doesn't mean I won't let you try things out and really come after, and then I'll show you things that will counter that or do things to you that counter that. So I'm not saying you'd never know or that I'm trying to keep some kind of a low skill level. I push with you strongly, any of you that want to, on a regular basis. And Harry, who's kind of the bigger guy out of our group here so far, he gets to push with me like that pretty regularly. At the same time, there's a point where I go, okay, we push like that a little bit. It's time we got into some other skill sets and all that kind of thing and quit playing King of the Hill. Sound about right?
Well, sure. There's a lot of time, especially earlier in my training with you, where that was the case. It's also because I didn't know better, and now I will say that I am generally more interested in the subtler techniques and way of doing things. I mean, I had no idea how to fill you with my E a number of years ago, and just use that just as one example,
Yep.
And not that filling you with my now still stops you from, helps me win because, but nonetheless, it's a progression. It's a progression in learning. So yes, and it didn't help that I regularly went to a Sunday night push hands meetup that was very Lee based.
King of the Hill.
So yeah.
I began my serious study of Tai Chi. This was even in the 1970s when I started, because of my grandparents dying so young, me realizing that, dying before the age of 50 isn't, life should be a good bit longer than that. And I began the study to have a healthy, long life and to see old age, because of knowing that my family genetics generally don't, and all of that. And so it really framed in, even when I got into the really serious, hardcore martial aspects, and when I got into the serious, more mental and spiritual aspects and all that stuff, it still started because of that health stuff. And because of that, it gave me a perspective that has taken me to where I'm at now, doing it the way that I'm doing now with that. And it's sort of the driving factor underlying the whole thing. Right. And so I'm not the teacher who's going to be like health. No, Marshall, health. That at the same time, there is a strong health component behind it. The difference is, it's not like, well, do your form and magically you'll become healthy. It's like, how does that health come about? What does it do? What can we really do to enhance that? If I have like the COVID thing there, how do I use those things in order to make it so that I really come through that with like the least amount of problems? And the same thing if it's a flu or the diabetes type 1 or anything like that. And it served me very, very, very well, as you guys can tell. I mean, I've outlived my family now by coming up on 10% for any of my grandparents and that kind of thing. I mean, and it's growing and doing very well. Like, they weren't healthy when they went either, obviously. Matt sees me at least 5 days a week. Ask Matt about my level of health compared to like every other person that we normally are around.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, he's just in like peak physical condition, and not just that, the stuff that affects most people that goes around or whatever, it just doesn't faze him. Either he doesn't get it at all, or he gets such a mild version of it that you wouldn't even know, except that it's kind of in the same symptom range as what everybody, is what's laying everybody else out.
But I have to ask usually. I'll go, are you getting this? And they're like, yeah, why are you asking? Because I'm getting a little bit of that. And they're like, you don't look like you're getting that. No, I mean, it's like a little bit, but it's odd. I know I don't normally feel that. So what's up? And they're like, oh yeah, that's exactly. And how about this? And I'll be like, think about it and go, maybe, a little bit, this kind of a thing. And that doesn't mean I can't get sick, like really sick. It's a rare occurrence, which is ideal, right? And correct. All right. I keep practicing and I keep studying. There's not an end to it, at least not for me. It is fun. It's very mentally interesting, very mentally stimulating, mind, body, and spirit. And if you're not enjoying it, like I said, please get with me or one of you guys. If you're listening to this out in the world, get with me or get with one of these guys. By the way, Matt, I forgot to introduce you. Did I introduce you earlier at the beginning of the call? This is Matt. He's the guy for Knoxville. We're in Maryville and all that. Sorry, I'm just hitting. Anyways, but get with one of the folks here. One of our teachers out there, and let them know that you're doing that. If you've been doing Tai Chi for 20 years and you felt like you hadn't learned that much, or it's gotten stale, or you feel like you're not advancing, and I don't mean not advancing like you've got skill. Well, if you have skill sets and you feel like they could be better, but you don't know how to make them better, get with them on that. If you've got ones where there's these other Tai Chi skill sets and you don't have those, ask about those. Now, they may tell you, okay, in order to do that thing, do you have this? Yes or no? And if you don't, okay, we got to do that. And if you don't have this, you got to have that. Okay, you've got that one. Here's a little tweak or two on that. Now you've got the basics for that thing. Here's the thing. And they'll teach you and all that. So our goal here is to really help you in your Tai Chi journey and to make it that great journey that it can be, and that long-term journey that is part of life. All right. Well, that's what I had for today. Anything anybody else want to add to any of that? They're like, no.
Everybody's shaking their
All
heads.
So, quick word from our sponsor, the Essential Keys to Internal Power, which is internalpowerkeys.com. internalpowerkeys.com, and Roadmap to Tai Chi Mastery, which is taichiroadmap.com. taichiroadmap.com. Thanks, guys. Thanks for participating. Thanks for talking, everybody. Thank you for interacting. And great seeing you all, and look forward to seeing you guys some more. And we'll talk more soon.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you, Sifu. And now, a word from our sponsor.
What is internal power? Most people only understand external exerting power, which is another way of saying tense muscle strength. Bigger, more tense muscles equal more power. That's external power. Internal power comes from pretty much anything except tensing your muscles. There are many sources of internal power, and tapping into them is more of a mind skill than anything else. This is where the phrase mind over matter comes from. My name is Richard Clear, and internal power is what I do. Students come to me for the mind over muscle secrets of internal power that are hard to find anywhere else. Over the past 40 years, I figured out how to get students on the fast track to effortless power. I created a one-of-a-kind online program that is getting such amazing results for my students that I put a money-back guarantee on it. Find out more at internalpowerkeys.com. That's internalpowerkeys.com. Thank you.